All right, in the offseason, we had a couple of key players retiring. Players like Devin Witherspoon, Chris Olave, Patrick Surtain. We also had Landon Dickerson, a good guard, retiring, along with Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons, Kenneth Walker, a number of crucial players. In the draft, Blake Teague ended up getting drafted first overall as a left tackle, and then Channing Reed, a quarterback, Nick Vick going to the Jets, and then a couple of quarterbacks coming off of the board before we eventually drafted Jaleel Jeffries at wide receiver, which I was really happy about to get more depth at wide receiver, although we don't exactly need it because we just recently drafted Tevin Warner. Now we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do with Tevin Warner. We also drafted Daniel Starks later in the draft as well in the 6th round. He was a 71 overall. Looks like he could be an impact player eventually, but maybe not for the time being. And the number 1 overall player by overall in the draft was Channing Reed, the quarterback that ended up going to the Cardinals. And looking at the wide receiver depth again, there's just a number of players at the wide receiver, and we cannot get all of these players to stay on the roster. So we moved Tevin Warner over to tight end. He's going to be the tight end 2, and then John Hales is going to end up being the tight end 3. In week 1, we played against my old rival, the Dallas Cowboys, and Ryne Alford. And so last season, Alford won his 2nd straight MVP award, and the Cowboys won the Super Bowl over the Dolphins 20-17. So obviously there was a lot on the line in terms of personal legacy in this game for me, and Jaleel Jeffries was going to end up getting caught in the crossfire in his first game as a rookie for this team. But on our first drive, we were able to get Jaleel Jeffries his first career catch. And of course, Daniel Starks wasn't going to get as much PT as the 6th round wide receiver that ended up getting drafted, but he eventually was going to get on the field at some point. Malik Dawson also was doing well running the ball to start off the game, and on 3rd and 2, picked up a big first down for us in the red zone, but Joe Baldwin ended up getting injured. Then on 3rd and 10, I extended the drive by getting a first down pickup, going out of bounds right around the 4-yard line. And then the crazy thing is, on 1st and goal, I'm looking for my number 1 weapon with Joe Baldwin out, and Jaleel Jeffries has it just bounce out of his hands, and seems like a little bit of the yips from our rookie here, but he comes right back and ends up hauling in the touchdown later on the same drive. Luckily, kind of fixing that problem immediately, nipping it in the bud. Ends up getting his first career touchdown and his first career catch on the same drive, so that was pretty awesome. We had a couple of hiccups in the 3rd. We lost Joe Baldwin for the 2nd time this game due to an injury, and I threw a pick to the Cowboys corner TJ Harden when I was targeting my rookie Starks. Thankfully, Baldwin came back in the game, but we were going to have to score quickly if we wanted a chance in this game, and I found Jeffries for a bomb down the field to get to the 50-yard line. And then later on 2nd and 10 with 4 minutes remaining, I got pressure in my face immediately on play action, but I found Malik Dawson on the dump off to get about a couple of yards, and eventually we ended up getting into the red zone. And on 1st and goal, I targeted my old faithful Amari Huggins-Bruce, but he couldn't come up with it. But later on 2nd and goal, very next play, he ended up hauling it in for the touchdown. Now the Cowboys ended up answering with a field goal to make it a 2-possession game, but we immediately found Amari Huggins-Bruce for another touchdown on a deep out, but it was not enough as the Cowboys held on to the ball, held possession, and ran out the clock, and we ended up losing by 3. So we did not get that revenge. We did not enable ourselves to continue to build our legacy against Ryne Alford. And Ryne Alford, again, back-to-back MVPs, just won the Super Bowl, and we are worried about what that means for us. And after continuing to build chemistry with my rookie wideout Jeffries, we saw more success on the field, taking out Cameron Wilson, my former Louisville teammate, in the Vikings while putting up a 40-piece. This season, I visited my old high school, Bishop Blanchet, to give a speech to the football team and the track team. I specifically focused on the track team because of my personal background with doing track and specifically doing the 400-meter run. I wanted to make it clear to those kids that they shouldn't limit themselves just because of their track and field background. I emphasized using the skills that you have to transition into team sports if you have the urge, because team sports, true team sports, are so rewarding, and I told them that that's why I decided to stick with football throughout all the ups and downs of my career. Before I got out of Blanchet, one kid asked if the Seahawks were winning a Super Bowl this year and whether I thought I was better than Ryne Alford, and all I said was, if we see the Cowboys in the playoffs, we are not losing that game. Now, getting back to our Week 11 matchup, despite the fumble by Amari Huggins-Bruce at the 1-yard line, we ended up pulling out the win 28-14, and Malik Dawson had a great game, but really, the standout performance was actually going to be coming from Amari Huggins-Bruce. Despite that fumble, he had 11 catches for 316 yards and 3 TDs. Now, Malik Dawson did have 100 all-purpose yards and a touchdown himself, which ended up getting him a dev upgrade. Fast forward to week 18, and we won 34-14 over the Chargers, secure our place in the playoffs, and we beat Preston Stone, who's the quarterback for the Chargers, one of our old college rivals. He finished with 1 touchdown to 0 interceptions. We had 2 touchdowns and 2 picks, so not a great performance by me, but I did have 5 carries for 100 yards and 2 TDs, and then Amari Huggins-Bruce showed up too with 100 receiving yards and a touchdown. Fast forward all the way to the NFC Championship game, and guess who we're playing? It's a rematch from week 1 of playing the Dallas Cowboys. Starting off on our first drive, it's a 3rd and 10. We need to convert quickly, and instead I had to force a pass into double coverage to try to get the first down pickup. We end up punting. Now on the next drive, I find Trevor Knott for the first down pickup on a crosser across the middle. And then on 1st and 10 with a minute and a half in the first, I take off for my first scramble outside, getting all the way down to near the 10-yard line for the Cowboys. Now you're going to see a recurring theme of finding Amari Huggins-Bruce in the end zone. He's wide open here. They're focusing on everybody else. He had 10 yards of separation all around him. Scoring that first touchdown, we take a 7-3 lead, and eventually we move on to 3rd and 10 with 4 minutes left in the second quarter when we force up a pass to Joe Baldwin on a go route, and he does pull it down, but he goes down with an injury holding his leg, it looks like, and he limps off the field onto the sideline. And Joe Baldwin just cannot stay healthy. I don't know what it is. It seems like he gets injured every single week. But we progress down the field, get into the red zone, and eventually we score another touchdown, taking a 14-3 lead. Now with 2 minutes left, we get the ball back again, and we're trying to run clock a little bit here, try to get one more score before the end of the first half to secure our lead and not let the Cowboys or Ryne Alford touch the ball one more time. So Ryan, coming off of his multiple MVP seasons here, we just don't want to give him an opportunity to make this a game. And so I hit Amari Huggins-Bruce down the field, and he made an absolutely insane one-handed catch. I mean, he caught it with 2 hands, but as he was coming down, he somehow held onto it while being tackled by the corner. And then later on the drive, with 30 seconds left in the half, I found Julian Vasquez, our wide receiver 5, who really doesn't get a lot of PT for us, but with the injury to Joe Baldwin, he's getting on the field a little bit more than usual. Fast forward to the third quarter with a 21-3 lead, we have the ball, and I find Daniel Starks running down the field, beats his defender one-on-one with no safety help. I mean, why would you? He's our wide receiver 4, but now he's been moved up to wide receiver 3, and he makes the Cowboys defense pay, and we take a 28-3 lead, and it's starting to look ugly. We, again, get into the end zone off of a red zone scramble by me up the middle for a 35-3 lead, but eventually the Cowboys do answer with a couple scores, but we put it to bed with another touchdown pass, this time to Jaleel Jeffries, and we finish the game winning 49-24 and getting a 6 touchdown pass, 1 interception performance from me. And I feel like I made this statement in this game that while Ryne Alford did win the last 2 MVPs, he still has to go through the Seahawks and go through me to make the Super Bowl. And yes, they have won a Super Bowl themselves, but we knocked them out of contention to go back to a Super Bowl. And we are playing the Texans in the Super Bowl. And this is the second time we've played against the Texans in the Super Bowl. Last time, it was when I was with the Cowboys. And that was my first Super Bowl win. And now we're playing against Jonathan Stewart, who's officially starting finally. And of course, playing against my old #1 wide receiver from Louisville, Rich Crawford. Now, it wasn't a great start for us on offense. I got sacked in the end zone, giving the Texans a safety, taking a 2-0 lead. But we had to respond quickly, getting the ball back. And I scrambled into the end zone for a touchdown. And then Amari Huggins-Bruce did what he always does, beating his man one-on-one. Why, again, is there no safety help? I don't know. But he gets into the end zone for another score, giving us a 14-2 lead. The Texans did answer with a touchdown of their own, but the running game wasn't working too well for us, so we continued to pass, and I found Amari Huggins-Bruce in the slot this time, going up the middle, carving up for about a 40-yard gain, and then eventually finding Joe Baldwin on like a 10 to 15-yard out route in the back of the end zone for another score. But on the following series of drives, we couldn't get anything going, and the Texans responded, taking a 23-21 lead before we eventually recaptured the lead with a Malik Dawson touchdown from the 1-yard line. And then later, we were down 31-28. The Texans got another score, and so with 4 minutes left, Trevor Knott goes down holding his ankle. And so down by 3, we try to get something going, but on 3rd and 10, I end up getting sacked, forcing a 4th down, and the Texans get another field goal off. So down by 6, we have just 1 minute left to make something happen in this game, and we get a miraculous catch near the 50-yard line. Now with 40 seconds remaining, starting from the 50, trying to wait for our receiver to get open, we buy some time, hit him, and he goes out of bounds with 36 seconds left. Now we didn't do a great job of time management here, but we thought we had Amari Huggins-Bruce in the back of the end zone, but just barely his toe was out. Luckily though, on 3rd and 10, we are able to get a first down pickup, and then we have to score a touchdown with about 4 seconds left. Again, the time management was not great, but with 2 seconds left after the incompletion, we have to score, and we're trusting our #1 guy all playoffs, Amari Huggins-Bruce, and he creates that 1-on-1 separation for the touchdown to give us the Super Bowl win by 1 point, 35-34, beating the Texans again and capturing my individual 3rd Super Bowl and the Seahawks' 2nd Super Bowl in our run with them, and obviously their 3rd Super Bowl overall. A huge victory for us. Jaleel Jeffries, as a rookie, being able to experience winning a Super Bowl. And also, we honored our promise to my old high school students at Blanchette, saying that we wouldn't lose to the Cowboys in the playoffs, and even better than that, we delivered another championship to the city of Seattle. Jonathan Stewart had a near-perfect performance in this Super Bowl, but so did I, and Malik Dawson having 7 carries for 40 yards and the 1 touchdown, in Amari Huggins-Bruce coming up clutch with 170 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I end up getting a Super Bowl MVP in what is going to be going down as an instant classic with the 2 seconds to go walk-off touchdown to capture the 35-34 win over the Texans. Normally, we would save retirements for later, but there were some big retirements this offseason, including George Pickens, Justin Herbert, and Lamar Jackson.